Welcome to GOLT Talk, your podcast for technology and innovation in the legal profession. If you're searching for solutions to revolutionize your legal practice, you're in the right place. 10 minutes pure, actionable product insights from CEOs shaping the future of legal technology. And here is your host, Tom Fennig.
Welcome to GOLT Talk, your podcast for innovation and technology in the legal and compliance world. Pure, actionable insights from CEOs shaping the future of legal technology. I am your host, Tom Fennig, and today I warmly welcome Martin Oertel, founder and CEO of Recital. And Martin, it's the first time that I am hosting a CEO from Canada. Good morning, over to you in Vancouver. Great having you on the podcast.
Tom, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Hey, let's kick this off by you please telling the audience a little bit about yourself as the CEO and founder, and this is not your first company, and then we dive right into the questions. Welcome again.
Fantastic. Happy to share a little bit about my background, both personally and professionally. As you mentioned, I am in Canada. I'm originally from Montreal, so I also have French as my native tongue, but mostly operate in English these days from Vancouver, Canada on the West Coast. An attorney by background. I will confess to that, but I'd like to say that I am fully recovered, and I've spent most of my professional career building products and companies. I'm actually a physicist by background before that, so it was an interesting combination of how to think about problems, how to solve problems. That comes, I think, both from the mathematical and physics background and the legal background. I practiced law originally with a firm that's now part of DLA Piper. I recognized fairly early on that my mission in life was more about building things, broadly speaking, beyond practice of law. So as you mentioned, I created and sold a couple of companies before. One of the ones that's relevant to my current work at Recital is my last company, which was called Contractually. And Contractually was an early cloud CLM, contract lifecycle management product. And it was acquired by Coupa Software, which is known for its spend management suite. So we were one of the early acquisitions by Coupa when it was still a private company, and we filled out some of the gaps in the product, in particular around contract management. And we had a fabulous experience joining Coupa, and it's fairly advanced, but still early days, with a team of 500 people to about 1,500 when I left 3 years later, from about 100 million in ARR when we initially were acquired to about 300 million in ARR when I left 3 years later. And of course, Coupa went listed publicly on the NASDAQ during that time. And so it was a very exciting time and very rewarding professional experience for me and for the rest of the team that was acquired at Coupa. That leads into some of the Recital story. And I'm happy to tell some of that story now.
We want to hear about the story for sure, and want to really pepper it with use cases and unique selling points. I'd like to emphasize, however, that this is a fairly unique podcast also, in a sense that I barely come across serial founders. And I think it tells a story in and of itself already that you founded these companies and successfully exited them. So I am sure this is a great segue into the customer centricity, the agility that is needed to stick out in a fairly convoluted vertical like Recital actually is. So tell us a little bit about it, please.
Yes, I'm happy to share more about my thoughts on the legal tech and contract technology vertical, or perhaps two verticals there. One of the things that I took away, and my co-founder, Brendan Mulholland at Recital, took away from our experience with Contractually and then through our experience at Coupa, is that as much as there was an opportunity, there continues to be a huge opportunity to bring technology to the work of lawyers, to the work, in our case, of in-house lawyers, to the work of legal departments, and to the work of everyone with contracts. Any application, any tool that tries to take lawyers out of Microsoft Word and out of email, whether that's Outlook or Gmail or potentially something else, is going to encounter huge adoption challenges. So I'll say a little, I think I'm going to have an opportunity to say a little bit more about this. But for example, I think general part of the approach of most CLMs, contract management products, contract negotiation products, often involves trying to move lawyers away from Word and email to another application, where in principle, the other application might objectively be better for managing workflows and getting everybody on the same page. But what we observed in our experience working at Contraction Coupa, and certainly something that we continue to see in the market today, is that there are really good reasons why lawyers want to use Microsoft Word, and trying to take them off of that, and by extension, trying to take them off of email to be able to exchange Microsoft Word documents is one of the reasons that many CLM implementations fail in whole or in part. Lawyers, again, to my mind, for some very good reasons, and want to continue working in the tools they already use. And so a solution, and the solution that we are building at Recital, is actually designed to allow lawyers, again, specifically in-house counsel, to continue working in the tools they already use. And let me say something specific about Microsoft Word, about why, somewhat counterintuitively, it's important to lawyers, probably others who negotiate contracts, to keep using Word. It functions as the lingua franca, or the common tongue, for people to communicate during the negotiation process, while allowing people to have private versions, private to them personally. Most in-house counsel, most lawyers don't like to work in public, so they like to review and revise things even privately before they might even share with colleagues or other stakeholders. Never mind sharing or publishing to another party. And so many CLMs try to force contract negotiations into proprietary text editors or web-based versions of Word. And everything that we've seen and heard from the market is that's very, very challenging when it comes to adoption.
So what does Recital do different then compared to, let's call it, the mainstream models?
Well, on this particular point of Word and email, Recital enables lawyers, and again, our focus is on in-house counsel, corporate legal departments, to keep working with Word and email. So in principle, without changing how they do their work today. And Recital, you can think of it as layers on top of that to be able to provide contract review capabilities, obviously supported with artificial intelligence, and to provide other capabilities around organizing files automatically for version control, automatically extracting data from documents and from documents wherever they are. So we're lightly scratching the surface of some of what's unique about Recital. But one of the things from the point of view of the end users is it makes it very easy to adopt, because there's very little, if any, change management. Very little to change about how they do their work today.
Is it a plugin? I need to picture or visualize better how you differentiate yourselves against others who also claim we are integrated. You just click this icon and we are a part of your Microsoft experience. Where is the difference, if any?
Well, as you know, there's many approaches to those types of integrations, some of which are stronger than others, some of which are, and some of what's on the market today can be quite brittle in terms of integrations with email, especially with email, but also with Word. So here's our approach. And again, one of the things that's unique about Recital here is how easy it is to get started and to connect Recital to your email, to your cloud storage, and to Microsoft Word. So that sign up and connection process takes about 10 minutes. And this is something that we normally say, you need to see this in action, because on the face of it, it seems not believable. We have demos that are publicly available, and we're always happy to show that. But unlike most products on the market today, certainly unlike traditional CLM, customers can get started with Recital in a day. So in terms of implementation, in principle, there's almost no implementation. End users sign up for the product, and that's a sign-up process that takes about 10 minutes. You create your Recital account, you can connect your cloud storage, so that could be Google Drive, that could be SharePoint, could be OneDrive, we have direct connectors or integrations to all the major cloud storage products. You also can connect your email account and you install an add-in for your Outlook or Gmail and install an add-in for Word. It's very, very straightforward in terms of sign up and implementation.
Is it invincible then, Martin? Do I see the icon when I work with Recital? Is it working in the background? Is it offering me suggestions when I write emails or draft contracts? I think we should stay another minute on this because it does sound very different from logging onto a portal or clicking an icon. So maybe that final answer, and then we move to friends and competitors, but that is most importantly one of the key answers here to understand the difference.
Yeah. So let me answer that by touching on kind of the two main things that Recital provides. One is organization, including data extraction from historical documents. So one of the things Recital does is it automatically finds all of your contracts versus non-contract documents from your cloud storage that you connect to Recital, even from your email inbox. So as we know, lots of contracts are often lost to the sands of Outlook, because we're busy people and things don't always get saved where they are. But one of the beautiful things about Recital is they can find those contracts even if they have not been saved properly in cloud storage. So simply by signing up and connecting cloud storage and your email, one of the things Recital goes to work immediately to do is to effectively create your repository automatically. It detects contracts versus non-contracts. It deduplicates files. It groups together versions of the same contract, which is something that's quite unique in the market. It extracts key data that's currently focused on key terms in commercial contracts and groups together families of contracts. So it can create automatically relationships between master agreements, order forms and amendments, and so forth. And all of this happens automatically without any manual work by the customer or the users. That's really important. There is no need to go find your contracts first. There is no need to organize your contracts first. There is no need to properly name your file names first. There is no need to save things in the right folder first. Recital is able to do all of that contract cleanup work automatically as part of creating your repository. And this background work takes anywhere from a few hours to perhaps a few days. So let's take some examples here. Customer with about 5,000 historical contract files. That's about 24 hours of processing by Recital to create a repository automatically. And between us, 5,000 is usually quite a large number of files. We've also had a customer who had about 35,000 historical contract files, and that was about a week of processing. And of course, to put that in perspective, with a traditional implementation of a CLM, this is something that takes months.
4 years.
Large companies, absolutely. We could probably have stories of people who are on year 2, year 3, year 4 of a CLM implementation. And this problem of organizing contracts is a big one. In our view, we completely solved that problem with digital technology.
So even if I'm one of the most chaotic archivers and I don't have playbooks, you never use the word playbooks, which I hear a lot in this space. But even if I'm completely unorganized and I'm completely fragmented, your technology assembles, assorts, and structures the data.
Correct. And to emphasize, it'll take very unstructured data. So just Word documents, PDFs, and part of what we do is we organize it and we turn it into structured data. So that's going to be really important where we talk about what Recital is building for the future here. What we're really enabling is for customers, for companies to really harness their contracts, right? Contracts are the ground truth for companies, for organizations, and the promise of CLMs and contract procurement technology going back at least a couple of decades has been that contracts are really the nexus, the core of all companies, but nobody has delivered on that yet. Now it is possible to deliver on that yet with the advent of AI. And we think at Recital, we've got several unique approaches to unlock that unstructured data. And it's beyond just organizing contracts, beyond just contract workflow. It's about being able to benefit from that data, not just for the legal department, but to flow that data to the rest of the company. So the entire company can benefit from the value, the data that is currently trapped in contracts. So one of the things that Recital does here to support the negotiation process is we put everything that an in-house counsel needs at their fingertips. And so from a lot of customer discovery, from personal experience, in-house counsel often spend 5, 10, 15 minutes just assembling, just finding the stuff they need to do their work. Where's the most recent version of this? I just received a new version as an attachment, but where's the last version? Where's all the emails related to this? I'm actually looking at the document now. I'm addressing a red line by the other party. Where's that perfect clause that I remember I drafted 3 years ago? I probably remember the deal, but I can't find that clause. So as part of the processing that we do, when you connect Recital to your email, to your cloud storage, we automatically create a full version history of every negotiation that you have underway. We provide the ability to get to the right comparison or red line in one click from your email. When you're reviewing the document in Word, because that's what you do with Recital, you keep on using your email in Word, we have a Word add-in, the Recital Word add-in, that will suggest clauses from your prior work that can also be filtered down to suggesting clauses from your shared clause library that is created from your historical contracts or simply created from your templates. We are on the way to actually providing stronger playbook functionality so that there's automatic suggestions and even automatic redlining. That, as you know, that's become quite an active part of the market right now around contract review. We're on the way there, building from a foundation where what we actually care about is all the historical contract data. What that means for the future is part of Recital is don't force people to do work manually. You shouldn't have to create a playbook manually, which is again one of the things that can hold up CLM implementations. Recital can effectively create that for you because we are analyzing not just your historical contracts, but your historical negotiation patterns.
Is there a team behind this analysis at the Recital side, or is it all automated?
Well, it's both. So we bring some pretty substantial domain expertise to this area. But what we want to build is something that is entirely digital and automated. So there may be cases where a company might want more than what we can provide today. So for example, we currently extract key terms based on sales agreements and vendor agreements. But if you actually need, and those terms right now we number in the dozen to 20 properties or so. If you truly need extraction of 150 clauses or properties, we're not going to provide that to you today. We may in the future enable you to do that on a customized basis. But if you truly need that, then there's a need to work with another solution in addition to Recital or instead of Recital. We're not aiming to be all things to all people. One of the things that we hear a lot in customer discovery is people are starting to question the benefits of extracting or trying to extract 150 properties from all contracts, when what they really care about is there an auto renewal? When is the renewal date so I can make sure I don't miss that? Are there any key risks here against my standard template? And yeah, it's definitely for some organizations that might be 100, 150 things that they want to track. For small legal teams, and I would go further, for most legal teams, the set of key properties is much smaller. And what matters is actually getting people to adopt and use the product. Because if they don't do that, it doesn't matter how many properties you're trying to extract if people aren't actually putting their contract in your product.
Perfect. Adoption is key, absolutely. And I think even though we plow a little bit into overtime here, this is a disruptive technology in a market that is confusing and really difficult to understand with all the different players. What I like here is the simplicity, is the focus, and there is some disruption with the Recital technology in this space that accelerates adoption and implementation. So with that, let's move to partners and competitors, Martin. I think I heard Microsoft, obviously, with the plugin. I heard Google with email integration. Who else, if you could, is a partner? And please do so. You had to compare Recital with anybody in the market. Who would that be?
So as it is, we have direct integrations, or we often call them connectors, with Google Workspace. So that includes Gmail, Google Drive, Google Docs, and so forth. And we also have built-in connectors or integrations with the Microsoft Office suite, including with Outlook, with Microsoft Word, and whether you use Word on, obviously lots of people use Word in conjunction with Google Workspace as well. That works just fine with Recital. We also have built-in connectors to Dropbox, to Box. I might be forgetting some other, but in general, all the major cloud storage providers. So again, our vision is to be able to connect to all the places that people either have contracts or contract data or use to do their work around contract negotiations. So more integrations are very high on our roadmap. That absolutely includes Slack, potentially Microsoft Teams, though right now we're hearing more about Slack than about Teams. It includes CRMs, in particular Salesforce. So to be able to find and organize contracts that have been stored in Salesforce, and also to be able to push back data to Salesforce about contracts that are underway. We have some existing DocuSign functionality where we can provide one-click comparisons of a DocuSign envelope against the last version you reviewed. So you don't have to do a manual review to make sure you're signing the correct document. And beyond that, being able to connect to DocuSign to send something for signature is high on our roadmap. The other one that is not connected to so much to a product or a partner is being able to connect to shared network drives. You might be surprised or not surprised to hear that many companies still use shared network drives. Corporate legal departments still shared network drives, and local storage as well, as a practical solution to having stuff somewhere. So we're going to be introducing shortly a way to actually connect a shared network drive and connect local storage. So that can be part of finding historical contracts and organizing them, as well as enabling version control with documents stored locally or on shared network drives.
Second part of the question, who is on your heels? I know you're ahead in this very dynamic space, but who would I have to look into in order to make some sort of comparison to Recital?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'll answer that in two ways. Number one, as a factual matter, most of the prospects we talk to are looking at traditional CLMs. So we're often in conversations with folks who have or are looking at tools like Ironclad and Link Squares are the two that come most to mind. Sometimes Evisort a little bit. So that's usually a different discussion. The discussion often for that kind of prospect is more about a focus on data cleanup or about an interim solution. Because as you know, for large enterprises trying to implement traditional CLMs, it's often you mentioned a years-long process. Yes, it's a years-long process, and they're often looking for an interim solution or help with contract data cleanup, which is something that we also provide. Now, so let me answer that question about competitors a little bit differently. If I were looking at products or companies that are a little bit more directly competitive with what Recital is doing, the ones that would come to mind would be Surmise and Robin AI, those two in particular. There's several others. I might put Spot Draft in this category. Surmise might also be in this category of definitely more modern tools and more driven by AI, but where my perspective and our perspective at Recital is that we are doing something quite different and being explicit that there's a new category emerging that is not CLM. And that category doesn't have a name yet. We don't have the name for it yet. It is going to solve problems that CLMs have solved in part, but I think that defining features, one, are around the use of AI in a native way as opposed to something that's bolted on to an existing solution. And more than that, it's going to be defined by treating contracts as data, and in particular, being able to extract not just the kinds of data like party names, payment terms, the stuff that I consider easy to extract, but actually deriving data that has been something that has not been possible until the advent of AI. But even with AI, it's challenging to derive data. A simple example here is around renewal dates. Contracts do not state renewal dates. You have to be able to infer or derive that from other information in the contract. So that's what we're doing at Recital. That's a simple example, but there's other examples like that. And where we think the future is around that is then being able to share that data, to flow that data into other business applications like financial systems, accounting systems, like CRMs, like customer success systems, like a business intelligence platform. So we're not trying to build a full business intelligence tool within Recital. There's some basic stuff that we think a contract product like Recital should provide. But if you really need to analyze all of the data in your contracts, you should be doing that in a BI tool. We think this is unique and different because most CLMs, at least most traditional CLMs, hoard data. Their business model is built around bringing in as many users and considering as many of a customer's employees as users. So not just the legal department, not just the procurement department, but the whole sales department have to have accounts and paid accounts to be able to access data that we believe should be available generally to the whole enterprise. Let me make one last point, which could be the subject of a whole podcast on its own. What this means for the legal department is that it doesn't just benefit itself from technology, from AI-based contract technology like Recital. This is truly allowing the legal department to now provide value to the rest of the company, not just with legal advice, but actually with valuable data that helps drive the business. My view is that's been the promise of contract technology going back 20 years, but nothing has delivered on it yet. And that's what we're doing at Recital, is delivering on that promise that contracts really are at the core of what a business organization is, and actually being able to turn that unstructured data into something that is structured and or valuable that the finance and accounting department can use, the sales department can use, the marketing department might be able to use. That is what I think is going to define the next category of contract technology.
Very intriguing, very intriguing. Now, morphing into implementation a bit, even though we touched upon it already, I get the point. You don't need to assemble all the agreements. You don't have to streamline them. You don't need to have a playbook. That's certainly accelerating the implementation, but please, a few sentences on that. And then last but not least, the pricing model.
Yeah. So one of the things we've designed Recital to do is to be able to get started, to be implemented, if you will, with as little upfront work as possible. And in practice, for customers that have 1 to 10 users, that means they can get started literally in 1 day. So if I were to put some additional comments to that, yes, we do onboarding sessions as part of getting our customers set up. And so we usually do either one-on-one sessions or a half an hour webinar with a group of users. And with that, they can be up and running with Recital same day. As I mentioned before, Recital automatically goes to work in the background to find and to organize all historical contracts and all contracts currently in negotiation. But that doesn't require any upfront work. No upfront work to pre-organize things or to pre-prepare anything. Recital does all of that automatically. So very different than traditional contract management software that usually requires at the very least a few months, if not years of work to do that.
What about international contracts? So obviously in larger organizations, you don't have contracts in English only, but the AI helps you translate them, not necessarily in a legally perfect way, but it still does at least some job there. Would your technology deploy AI translation when assembling and structuring data?
Yes, in part, but not fully yet. So to provide some context here, our main focus right now is on the North American market, particularly the US market, although we have users elsewhere in the world. We know that Recital does deal with other Western languages, that is, languages with a Western script, quite well when it comes to understanding those contracts and extracting data. We don't yet provide a non-legal translation, as I think you called it. that's something we will look at as we grow more globally. So Recital is priced for mainly for small legal teams, so ranging from a solo general counsel or perhaps a solo contract manager or a CFO or COO who doesn't yet have a general counsel but is responsible for managing and negotiating contracts, up to teams of 10 people. And I'll go into that pricing. I will say that we attract a lot of larger customers. So we have pricing that is a bit more customized for enterprises where they may have legal teams that are 50, 100, 150 people, and often with other needs around different kinds of users. So we've got more customized pricing for that. But I think to answer your real question, what does pricing look like for a small team, 1 to 10 people? It ranges from about $6,500 per year for one solo user to in the range of $50,000, at least in the first year, for a team of 10 people, covering initial setup and contract processing.
Very good. Is your unique or your perfect user then really more in the smaller 5 to 50 lawyer space, or is it an evenly balanced portfolio that you're serving?
It actually is an evenly balanced portfolio, but we're pretty clear from our perspective. Our ideal customer is a small team of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 in-house counsel. That's not because our product can't support larger teams. It's more a function from our perspective of sales cycle. So again, a discussion we could have a whole podcast about is how challenging it is for buyers to find a solution and the right solution. And so for larger organizations, there's understandably more stakeholders, more at stake in terms of making a decision. And one of the things that we offer to all organizations, but certainly larger organizations, is the ability to have a trial or proof of concept of Recital at no charge. And the intent of that is to show them how easy Recital is to get started with, and also to show them how valuable it is to them. It's one of the tools that we use to cut through the noise in the market and to be able to say, hey, don't take our word for it. You can actually try this out and validate that this is going to solve your problems. But that said, the reality for larger organizations is there are more stakeholders. And so the decision making and ultimately the sales cycle is long.
Definitely. I think nobody takes it for granted that a CEO of a legal tech company takes 40 minutes to explain the market, explain the product, and really put yourself into the shoes of the users with all the pain points that everyone is trying to resolve. Thank you so very much, Martin. It's been really insightful. Again, we try to pick these products that make a difference also to showcase variety, to showcase options, and to showcase solutions for people that are not in a multinational 500 lawyer environment, which is sometimes the focus point of companies and not necessarily the other side of the spectrum. So I'm sure the audience appreciates this has covered a space that is sometimes a little bit undercovered and underutilized. So much appreciated. We'll be in touch. I really learned a lot, and giving us at Transforming Legal also some insights from folks like you who are seeing the market with different eyes, with different perspectives is absolutely valuable. Thank you so much, Martin. Greetings over to Canada, and thanks on behalf of the audience for your valuable input today. All the best.
It is my pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you.
See ya.